G'day, doggies, fans, all things Bulldogs. It's a Team Tuesday, episode 19, and it'll be a quicker one tonight. It is my birthday, and not expecting too many people on tonight. I will say that. But we'll get the podcast out there for all the people who like to listen to it in the car and whatever else. And thanks for all the support. Thanks for the birthday messages, and thank you for continuing to share your thoughts and provide your continued support for the Bulldogs together. Come say hello on the chat. Come say hello. We'll wait for a few people to get on here, and then we'll get straight into this team and all the changes. G'day, Sayed. Welcome. Rick and Morty. Love it. So we'll wait for a few more people to come on. Come say hello. Let us know you're here. And we'll get talking about this team. Obviously, a lot of people would have seen it. Blake Taff named at centre. I really doubt that he'll be there. Welcome, Elaine. Thank you so much. I have had an awesome day today. Got some nice presents. And a nice present from you, if you can see in the background there. It's a frame picture of CJ Uday, captain of the Harold Matt side, and very fortunate to get that. So thank you so much for that signed picture. Evening, Timmy, and evening, everyone. So exciting stuff coming up. I'm probably more excited about this game than I have been about the previous couple, to be honest. Just really excited to see what this team can do with some players out. Shout out to Elaine. She sent me one as well. Beautiful, Timmy. G'day, old fella Dave. Welcome. And welcome to Shannon Green. Thank you so much. Sayed, keen to hear your thoughts on the lineup, specifically Taffy at centre. I personally think Sarah may change it in the 24-hour update and put Luke there and bring Underhill onto the bench. Thank you so much, Cover. And thank you, Sayed. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. Yeah, I'm going to get into that. Look, if we go back to last week, Friday night, we played the Roosters. Carraz was injured, as was Stephen Crichton. Two players in New South Wales Cup that were named for that side were Blake Wilson, who was on the right wing, and Jonathan Sewer, who was at right centre. Now, Jersey Flegg had a comp-wide bye last week, as did Ron Massey. So it was a great opportunity for a lot of clubs to play a lot of Flegg kids. Obviously, Manly didn't. They played a whole heap of former first graders and fringe first graders, and we did very, very well. Although, we actually didn't play that well. Pretty good first half, led. Second half, had completed 4 sets, but only lost by 2 points. So they gave a lot of kids an opportunity, which was great and really good for them. And, I just assume Jonathan Sewer, who's been playing quite a bit of right centre, and obviously Blake Wilson's been playing right wing. He has had a couple of games, or one game, I think, at fullback as well in Cup. So I really expected that Jonathan Sewer would be named. He is on the extended bench. After seeing the New South Wales Cup side named earlier today at about lunchtime, it was easy to assume that he would be on the extended bench along with Underhill. Thank you very much, Timmy. And welcome, Mark. Good to see you on here again tonight, mate. So we're going to talk about this team list. You can see it going across. Obviously, Blake Taff is a confusing one for a lot of people. Someone did make a comment on a Facebook page that they've been trialling Taff at centre in New South Wales Cup. I've thought I'd watched every game, and I don't think I've seen him play in the centres. But I could be wrong. A lot goes on. You get your focus on certain players. I do focus on the likes of Tia and the halves a lot, and obviously the forwards, players that you sort of think are on the cusp. Blake Taff, he's been fullback nearly every game he's played in New South Wales Cup, from what I can see. Old fella Dave, just looking at the team list now, that's a pretty solid team. Yeah, it's not too bad, mate. So let's get it up and present it. Now that we've got about 20 people on, which is fantastic. I'll get the team up. And let's bring that up like that. And I'll make myself smaller. And here we go. All right, so there was a few people also wondering why Mitchell Woods was named on the extended bench. Look, it's a great way to show recognition to someone, especially the fact he's in our top 30. I suspect he's going to definitely be playing flag for the rest of the year. If there is some injuries or his form warrants that he needs to come up to Cup, I expect him to play a few games in Cup, or if there's some injuries in the halves in NRL or in reserve grade, he will step into that role sooner rather than later. And this is good recognition. I don't know if they will. I think he'll definitely play flag this weekend regardless. But this is just nice little recognition for him. And to say, look, if Sexton injures himself at training, he might, move onto the bench or something like that. Could get a go at half. You never know. But it would be likely that Bailey Hayward would move into the halves if Sexton or Burton got injured. Drew Hutchison down as the 19th man, Jonathan Sewer at 20. Look, I don't think Blake Taaffe will be in the starting lineup. I think he'll be on the extended bench, on the bench. And either Luke Smith will go to centre where he started the season on the right edge. He's been playing both sides of the field, Luke. So I think he'll go to right centre, or Jonathan Sewer will come into the side, which means some player will have to drop out of the team. Now, Samuel Hughes will undergo a fitness test tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've I think from what I've heard, he'll be doing a vigorous test tomorrow. So, and if they're confident, he'll be able to start the game and get 20 minutes. Pretty much what a DSF would do in a big game. Minimum 20 minutes. He will actually play and he'll likely start. And either Curran or Hipboy will come back to the bench. There is also talk that Curran may drop into that right edge second row. But see, look, the reason that I don't believe Taff's going to go to fullback, which some people are suggesting, and Tracy into centre, or Taff to the wing, or Montoya into the centre, they've basically had their two right edge players come out. They've lost Preston off the right edge. They've lost, potential edge players in Tupanua, Curran. Curran's back now, but they've all been injured. So to keep that edge both edges as stable as possible, you go to the path of least resistance. That's what I would think, looking at what Serrato's done in the past. So I believe that Blake Wilson, either Jonathan Sewer or Luke Smith, who have both played in that right centre position this year, go in with Blake Wilson, who's played right wing in first grade and New South Wales Cup for the majority, or for all but one game. So that being the case, you've got combinations there on the right edge. You've got Harry Hayes and Sexton, which were on that right edge together last week. And Luke Smith played in that right edge as well when he came on. So you keep that side of things stable. And you don't want to change up the left because you've got Burton, Kickout, Bronson Cherry, and Marcello Montoya. You're going to keep that combination going. And where did our points come from last week? Kickout, Burton, Cherry, and Sexton got the intercept on the other side. Although they were all pretty much through the middle. All the tries were back through the middle. But that was the type of weather that you play that way in that sort of weather. And, we just kept doing that all day until they cracked, as we talked about. As far as rotations go, so Jake Turpin, I thought they'd pick Jake or Drew, and Drew's obviously still a chance to come in. And this is where Drew Hutchison adds value because he has played really well in Cup all season. People who watch Cup fleetingly and have seen Hutchison drop the ball or something are just horrible but towards him. But he's been he's like a Nathan Cleary in that level. At New South Wales Cup level, he is so level-headed, and anything good they do, he's usually around it. Played really well and leading those boys around marvelously. But he could play that ball-playing lock roll on his head. Plus, he could also come in and cover as a left centre, or come into the halves if they had to put him in hooker. He could. If he had to play on the left edge, he could. He could do it all, Drew. If so, he's always a good backup. And this is a type of game that, going back through his career, it was these type of games where Roosters would win, having lots of players with Origin and stuff, and players like him would be instrumental in getting them 2 points in these types of games around Origin. So that's where he thrives. So he's a chance as well. But I do think Jake Turpin is ahead in the pecking order in that department. All hookers in the club are playing small lock rolls. Reid, you'll expect Reid to play 80 minutes. I'm not even sure if Bailey will start. I think they may even start Jakey Turpin because he's a starting hooker who can hit hard and make his tackles. Now, obviously, he's a bit underdone. You must say that because he hasn't played much footy since he's been here, basically. And that's a bit of a concern. But I think he could play 20 minutes as well to start a game and then bring Bailey Hayward the way they have been to play pretty much the rest of the game as that, roving link between Burton and Sexton. And it's good to actually see Burton, Sexton and Hayward all play on different sides of the field and link up together at different times. There's lots of stuff that they do. And if you watch the games, get to watch them again, you actually can break that down and go, look, they did this 3 times. Kurt Mann, obviously a big part of that. But yeah, it's what I do think will happen is Taff will drop out of the centre position and come onto the bench and play that sort of cover role, which, I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's worked out pretty well for us, I must say. Curtis Moran will be first hit-up guy. First interchange, like last week, and did a marvellous job. I believe if Samuel Hughes is fit, as I said, I believe he'll start. Hipboy likely to come to the bench. And then we can count on Lipboy Hopboy playing, 45 minutes if need be or more. Josh Curran, the same, 45, 50 minutes each. And Harry can also, if they bring a Luke Smith on and say, you go to right edge, Luke, Harry can take a break and come back on if need be as well. But look, Jack Underhill, he will play if Samuel Hughes is not selected, I believe. I think he will make his debut. And there's a chance he could actually replace one of these guys on the bench as well anyway. It won't be Moran. Moran and Hipboy are in this side this week, no doubt, unless there's an injury. But there is a chance that Jake Turpin or a Luke Smith could make way for Underhill, even if Hughes does play. But because Jack, he's got a big motor as well, and he'd rather pass out and die than, give in to fatigue. And we've seen him play 70 minutes in Cup a few times. For a person who's only played about 10, 15 games in Cup, that's pretty impressive. Zion Mayuu gets his first go on the extended bench, so congratulations to him. He's been playing better, which I've talked about in Cup. It's been hard for him to get things going, but I think last week, the start of that game against Manly, he was really important. He was up against Matthew Lodge and Chris Patolo. They're not, Patolo's building up a little bit of game time with Manly now, which is good for him. And Matthew Lodge is still you'd have to class him as could add value to some side in first grade. And he played very well in that game. It was very hard to stop. And Zion was out there and really giving it to him, and he was running on the ball hard. So good, well done to him to get on that extended bench and keep him engaged, keep these players looking at the bigger picture and how close they actually are to getting a game. All right, let's go back to your comments because, I'm looking at that on another screen. They could potentially shift Burton to centre and play Taff in the halves. They're not going to do it, Timmy. Like a lot of people are saying stuff like that, or they could play Hayward in the halves. A lot of people want that. People believe that Burton's playing centre anyway. And what I've said to people is if you actually watch, sometimes our players interchange lots of areas in attack and in defence, actually. But it's all about, they all know that they've got to clog up them holes, get back their 10, interchange their line speed. If they get caught, they all know what they've got to do. But in attack, you'll see sometimes Kickow go on the outside of Burton. And he'll be passing the ball to Burton. Sometimes Kickow acts as playmaker. Sometimes, Hayward just goes out to Burton. Sometimes it goes Sexton onto Burton. Sometimes it's Hayward to Sexton to Burton. They mix it up. They mix it up, guys, and it's good because it's hard for the opposition to know what's coming. And if anyone's sort of out of position or had a hit up and they know they need to get a bit of shape happening, anyone can step up and take that first pass and engage the line and get it out the back. They know the next person's got to run the decoy. Like, it's pretty stock standard, but they all seem to be fully aware of what everyone's role is and what the team role is. If a play's called and they're standing in a certain position, it's very rare that we see that unorganised sort of stuff happening. They're really, for the most part, this Bulldogs side's been very impressive at just being organised. And that's something we can't say has happened a lot in the last 10 years. Been so many periods where they've been disorganised or frazzled and then disorganised. So it's good to see that structured, more organised, more confident play evolving every single week we watch. Timmy said he doubts it. That's right. Good evening, Michael. Hopefully it'll be a decent crowd on Thursday despite players out and most likely pouring rain. Yeah, look, if we get 25,000, that'd be a big win. That'd be a big win on a Thursday night. With a lot of players out. Critter's not there, But I'm sure we'll see lots of Bulldogs fans and they'll be noisy as hell. We're the only team Dolphins haven't beaten. Well, I've made this point a lot about the Bulldogs. There's only one side that beat the Bulldogs the first time they played them, and that was the Warriors. That was the only since we've been in the comp, every team that's come into the comp couldn't beat the Bulldogs on the first go, and most couldn't beat us on the second or third go either. The Broncos, we were the last team that they beat. I think it was the same with the Cowboys and with the Gold Coast. We were the last team that these sides can beat. So that's why you need to understand that the Bulldogs of old, when these teams come in, were the measuring stick as an organisation. They were the team these new teams wanted to beat, and they found it hard. But yeah, the Warriors, the Auckland Warriors, the only side to beat us the first time we played them. And Dolphins still haven't beaten us in, I think it's only been 2 goes, both at Bundaberg. So this will be an interesting clash. First time they've played at Accor. Mark's happy, Mike's back. Oh, and he's calling him Dad now. Isn't that beautiful? Like at all things Bulldogs, the love just continues to carry through. Yeah, I think you're right, Mark, and that's what I was just saying before, which I was talking about. So you would have seen that. Turpin, I think, it just keeps for him to come in and replace Man. He can pass the ball. He can get in there and tackle. He's got a tackle percentage rate of about 97%. So doesn't miss too many. And, he's played in the middle and puts his shoulder behind the ball. He gets right in there. And he sort of fits our style. He can pass off the deck. He can do it all. Obviously, he was a half coming through as a kid. He'll be suited in that role and to take the sting out of the game for sure. And then to bring players like Bailey Hayward on to do what he's been doing. As I said, the path of least resistance is the one where you know where you're going, and go there in a straight line with everyone in the same bloody positions that they've been in, and you just, the ones that have come out, you replace them with like for like, next man up sort of thing. We could put Curran back to right edge if they're worried, but Harry Hayes was there last week. The combination with Sexton's got another week going together. Blake Wilson's been out there with Sexton every time he's played. So, and now another centre gets to come in. And the fact Wilson and Sewer have been combining in New South Wales Cup will put them in good stead for NRL. Yeah, we'll all be there, brother. Hayward starts and Turpin plays mid-game. Yeah, I think Hayward should come off the bench, and I think he might. I think starting him will weaken us and weaken his ability, but maybe not. He's been starting at 5'8" and playing 80 minutes. So, but it is tougher playing in that middle. It's going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. And Jake Averillo named a fullback. In this side, a bunch of fullbacks in that Dolphins squad. A lot of footwork, a lot of speed. Max Feagai is a very good player. And, who are we going to be targeting in this game? Will there be a lot of bombs for Jakey Averillo? I think they'll make him a target. I really do, if he's at fullback. But, with Jake, if we don't come up with that straight line and he's got a lot of time to move, he's a big threat. Huge threat. There is a chance as well that Herbie could go to fullback. But a lot of people said that when Jake and Herbie were going to the Dolphins, that Herbie would be the fullback. And I said, I didn't really agree with that. I thought Jake's got enough runs on the board and always looked good with the ball as a fullback and always got better and better. Mick Potter knew that he goes all right at fullback. Cameron Serrato reckons he's a centre. And I tell you what, he probably had his best season playing at right centre for the Bulldogs. The weather on Thursday will be wet and raining in Sydney, according to the news. I doubt Zion will come in, but hopefully we see him soon. Yeah, well, when he's ready, mate, I think if there's a couple of injuries at training or, people get sick, he has to come in and stand up and he might have an absolute blinder. But it's hasn't been, as I say, like, you can see this guy winding up and sometimes the passes haven't just been in the right place or, it's frustrated me actually. But on the weekend, I really saw how good he can be in that sort of role. The sort of, I think the goal for him is how fit can he get and how many minutes can he play at that level he needs to play at. And the fact he used to be an edge back rower as well, sort of is a good sign. United Bulldogs for life. Dolphins have had terrible completion, and I think the rain will make it worse for them, and they may benefit us along as we stay disciplined. Well, that's very, very true. Look, the Roosters won 2 comps with their possession. Their possession wasn't too bad, but their error rate was in the bottom 4 in the competition. The difference, though, was they thought that they could continue playing that way without Cooper Cronk, who is very, very good at executing, at a really high, when they were down the other end, they were very good at executing, scoring plays and that sort of stuff. And they had a bit of a different style to everyone. But they've continued dropping the ball for years, the Roosters. And I made point of this the other day, that they've had probably in the top 2 rosters on average for the last 5 years. and have barely, I don't think they've made a prelim. And that's because they don't respect the ball. And look, the Dolphins are a funny side. They go in and out of games. It's a lot of that's to do with their half. Last year, there was big moments in games where he did nothing but watch. Now he's sort of coming in more and more and more, but there's still moments where he's not there, and but he's only going to get better. And they can get a bit disorganized and get offload happy. A lot of unforced stuff as well. So you're 100% right. But the Bulldogs, it doesn't matter even if a team has been good with completion, because our whole style is about the way I see it. It's like we go out there and hope, and to play 80 minutes. And when other teams are looking for a break, we still want to keep it in play. And the Bulldogs are quite happy to just keep grinding away until teams make mistakes. And you see a lot of games where teams are, every kick they put up, they compete for the ball. And sometimes, the other team knocks it on. Sometimes they knock it on. Sometimes they get possession and score a try. The Dogs, a lot of the time, for some players, just happy to take a player out of the game and make them less effective, right? They're just happy to just keep doing what they're doing, keep their line together, all trust each other that no one's going to, miss a tackle, get numbers in where they can. They seem to be very self-aware of what can happen with certain players. Like a player like Latrell, we've seen it, can get that late offload and call, and that's what he was doing. And we'd have him under control, and there'll be a late offload when we're all driving in. That's the stuff we've got to protect against, and that's what I worry about when we lose a lot of players, is their ability to go for long minutes, but then to have the concentration there that they don't allow offloads to happen from teams that are really good at it. And the Dolphins have some really good offloaders in their team, the likes of Josh Kerr. The Bromwich brothers not Jesse, but Kenny's still there. He's not in the side, but he's on the extended bench. Who else have they got? Felice can offload. Fina Fuiaki, who's on the extended bench for Queensland. He's played really, really well, I believe, and he'll only get better. And Connolly Lemuelo, who was playing in the centres for the Bulldogs. What you're seeing here with this Dolphin side is almost, they're going with they're following the Bulldogs lead here. And Wayne Bennett started it last year. He could see what the Dogs were doing. So on their bench, they got Mark Nichols and Josh Kerr. Now, Josh Kerr is pretty versatile. He could play edge if he had to. Harrison Graham's he's sort of making his comeback. Really talented hooker. And Oren Keeley is a sort of versatile player as well. Can play sort of anywhere. They're a pretty mobile pack. Ray Stone, lock, second rower. Lemuelu, former, centre, who's turned into an edge player since moving to the Cowboys and now out to the Dolphins. Finafuaki's always been an edge player. Felice Kafusi's an edge player playing prop. Francis Molo's your main sort of prop in that side. And Kurt Donahue, well, he's played 5'8" for Fiji in test matches. So, look, I'm always worried about Cody Nikorima backing up through the middle. Fast, zippy, really good at making breaks. But yeah, Herbie Farmworth and Avarillo are huge for this Dolphin side. They go for it. If they see a little gap or a little bit of space, they run to it and they challenge the defender. And a lot of the time they make a break. Probably won every game, Let's have a look at Jake while we're here. How's his stats going this year? So he's tackling at 86%. So let's look at him at the Bulldogs and the Dolphins. For the Dolphins for 2025. 2 tries, assists, 4 line breaks from 11 games. So that's not too bad. Last year, played 23 games, made 10 line breaks. So he was making more line breaks last year per game and more tries, assists per game. Tackling percentage has improved from where it was. And he's doing more of the work this year. See, 131 per game. So doing more of the hard stuff, which makes him less effective in the attack side of things. And it's a thing, right? Like Cherry does more of the hard stuff. Crichton does a lot of other stuff, more of the defensive stuff. So there you go. So Jakey's enjoying a better win percentage at the Dolphins, which is good for him. And he's averaging 117 metres. So there you go. He's going all right. But the big one to worry about is Herbie Farmworth. So that's the question. You know, look, I'm not sure how it's going to roll. I'm really not. Forgot old Turpin is. He looks 20. Thank you, Adrian. Much appreciated. G'day, Lakeside. Lip Boy coming along nicely. Yeah, how good was he last week? I'll say it again. He was absolutely sensational last week. It was such a joy to watch him. To see some footwork in there, post contact, couple of tackle breaks, working his ass off in the middle. You know, I know Lindsay Collins scored when he was there, but Curtis Moran got stuck in the play the ball, and if he was able to get up, that wouldn't have happened. He would have joined that tackle. And we were, you know, how many 6 agains did they have? How many repeat sets did they get before we conceded? So I was very happy with Lip Boy Hot Boy, and I can't speak more highly of him. And what it is for me is player debuts the next year. It's like they've just gone to a complete new level. You know, you wouldn't have thought he was going to get 45 minutes last year. In Cup, he's been playing huge long minutes. They've put him on edges. They've played him different spots on the field, and he's just got an engine. He's got a tank, and that's what our club demands of its players. And welcome to the top 30 in 2026 for Lip Boy Hot Boy. The best doggies podcast on YouTube, hands down, mate. I always look forward to your videos. Well, thank you so much, TM. I'm really happy to get that comment. It makes my day. Great for the ego. Yeah, and we do things a bit differently here. I like to go in depth, and, you know, I don't know all the answers. Sometimes you've got me thinking, and we're going to get things wrong. You know, I thought Jonathan Sewers straight into that side. Heard some stuff this morning, and then, you know, I said on the podcast on Sunday that Turpin and Hutchison would come into calculations for that small lock roll. I was right about that, and I was telling you that Sam Hughes was going to be tested this week, and those big tests normally happen on a Wednesday, and I think they will be. I don't think it would have been today, because it's just they try and keep their routines. You know, they go into camp every week. They're still doing that, and that's how they've become so connected. So it's a lot of familiarity in process. And it almost starts becoming superstitious. That's the bad thing. It's like, well, we have to do this way. Oh, I used, you know, we ate this meal at this time and it all worked out perfect, you know. I put this sock on my right foot and this sock on the left foot. I put my leg through on this side every time I put this shoe on first, you know, all this sort of shit. I used to do it when I used to play stuff. So, and you do well and you think, oh, I've got to do it the same. All good, JD. You can go back and watch it, brother. But yeah, we've been talking about pretty much the team and what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to King's birthday very much so, Timmy. And congratulations to Joash Papali, who is getting his debut this week for Parramatta. So well done to Joash. And, you know, obviously if he plays against us, I'm hoping he goes all right in the losing side. But, yeah, outside of that, I hope he has a blinder every time he plays and reaches his goals and dreams. What a champion. Absolute champion. Timmy, Parra will be a tough side to beat as they have improved over the last month since Mitch Moses' return. I feel this is a dangerous game, both sides affected by Origin, but I feel Kurt Mann is crucial. Yeah, Kurt Mann is crucial to us. But still, I prefer Kurt Mann off the bench as well. Isn't that funny? Yeah, Parra, I've already penciled that in as one of our toughest games of the season. Jason Riles has had the advantage of having a team, having a much bigger nucleus he could work with. Of obviously, you know, his halves pairing's worth over $2 million. They've brought in 2 fullbacks that were deputies at Penrith and Canterbury at the time, sort of hailed as the next big things. So they're obviously very, very talented. Isaiah Iongi, the Panthers, you know, you can't keep him when you got Dylan Edwards there, and he's someone ready to be a first grader. We've seen that. They've left a lot of players in cup like the Cartwrights and the Ryan Madisons. And, you know, Madison came in last week and was really good. Looked a much tougher and harder player. Players like Luca Moretti are absolutely killing it. Bailey Simonson was dropped. I don't know if he got injured again, but I think he was just dropped because Lomax came back. And he, in my opinion, the turnaround in their form was also coinciding with him coming back into first grade, because his runs and post-contact out of yardage was so imperative to helping them get up the field. So, plus having the Fox there, you know, and the other bloke playing centre, he's been doing really well. Sean Russell, some of his passes out to Fox on the left wing have been good. Obviously Lomax, and then you got they've got a good back line. That's all you can say. Hooker still very raw, but gives 100%, and you know, lots of good players in their forward pack. They've got a team capable of playing semis, and he has gone for more of a workman-like side. Players prepared to tackle longer, tackle harder, do the tough stuff over some of their established big name stars that they've paid a fair bit of money for, which they've kept in New South Wales Cup and the like. So I'm expecting nothing but a tough time from the Parramatta Eels on the King's birthday. And I can't wait to be there and see it live. Yeah, well, look, you don't know if someone's an Origin player till they're there. And I don't agree with, like, Braithen Aston knows more than me about rugby league. Let's just get that out there. I'm still going to disagree with him. Max King is actually, for me, he's always better. He's consistently better in his second stint ever since he's played. That's been one of the features. You know, sometimes he comes out and he's just killing it at the start, but obviously in that softening up period, he's done a really courageous and tough job for us. I've said many times that he's played full seasons with injuries. Gus elaborated on it again. That sternum injury he had, where he couldn't tackle at training and stuff because it hurt. He couldn't do weights. The way he's shaped himself down, carrying leg injuries where he's wearing a moon boot the day before he's got to play. And I remember his mum contacted someone and, and said he's definitely going to play. No one can stop him from playing, even though he can hardly walk. Like, he's just tough. He's tough and he's been through so much. And he does, we've said it on this podcast a few times. He's Origin capable, Origin ready this year. His stats are also right there. And the statistics you see him with the eye, like he's not just taking 20 hit ups and sort of just hitting the line at a crawl. I sort of compare Terrell May's performances a bit to Josh Curran, right? They sort of just keep working, keep getting to positions on the field. They can offload. They sort of skip at the line. Sometimes they run hard, but other times they just do their job. They tackle all day. They can play long minutes. Josh is probably obviously a little bit more nimble and, good on a kick chase or a little chip in behind. He can score a try, and if he puts the burners on, he can get behind the advantage line anytime he wants. But he does his role, you see, and he's there to do it for long periods of time, cleaning up a lot of stuff. But as far as that sort of, he's not that explosive, smash the wall type player, and neither is Terrell May. Well, Max King has developed all that. He's averaging an extra metre per hit up on his post contact from what he's done last year, and that was a lift from the year before. Started off the bench quickly into the second hit up guy in the starting team, then takes on the main role when Ryan Sutton come to the side, and it was a big change for Ryan Sutton. He couldn't handle it. Got it and injured him, and got lots of injuries. Max kept going. And now this year, he's just at a level which is in the top 5 props in the game. It's easy to say that because he is. And he deserves his spot. And I believe that they can play him off the bench or start him. Mitch Barnett, I think, is probably a better go to start with Payne Huss. Bring King on with us after 25 minutes. Let him play for the next 30, And I'm telling you, you're going to get some good service out of King. He's going to get you forward. He's going to make you his tackles, and he's going to do everything he can to stop the opposition. What a great player. What's up, brother? G'day, Loss. How you going, mate? I reckon Hughes won't be match fit, eh? You reckon he's been out a bit long to go straight into first grade? Last thing we need is an aggravate the injury. Yeah, I said this at the start. I'm not sure if you saw it, brother. Hughes, if he convinces the coaching staff that he can play 20 minutes or more, so there's all these tests that they do and the stuff they run them through, and they can sort of get a really strong feel for how they're going to be able to cope in a match situation. Obviously, it's not the same as playing a game. We all know that. Match fitness, you can do all that stuff all you like and still get into a match and you're cooked after 5 minutes sometimes. But that's what they're going to do. And if he gives them the confidence through what he does, he will play. And that's firming all the time. Apparently, he's built up a little bit of up top because obviously having that ankle injury, I think it was a syndesmosis or whatever they call it. He's been doing all those weights and stuff while he couldn't run, and he's beefed himself up a bit. Don't know how it takes out of him. They've always said he's very fit, and they've managed him so well to, play him 20 minutes, 25, then play him 30, play him 1 stint, then 2 stints sometimes, build his minutes up, then peel him back a little bit, bring some other people's minutes up, managing them all to get them through a long season to play finals football is what it's all about. And, I do agree that he has missed a fair bit of football, but if he tells them that he's ready through his actions tomorrow, I'm sure that it's tomorrow. I don't think they would have done it today because they normally don't. But if that happens, expect him to retain his spot. So what I think will happen tomorrow in the 1 hour announcement tomorrow night, at about 7:30, I think you will see that Sam Hughes will still be in the 17. And I think the 2 players that will be still in the side, the extended squad, will be Jack Underhill and the other one, it'll be a toss-up for me between Jonathan Sewer and Drew Hutchison. That's what I think it'll be. So I think that'll be extended bench. So no changes, and then there'll be Jack Underhill and what's his name? Jonathan Sewer or Drew Hutchison. Now, if Jack Underhill's not on the extended squad tomorrow, that means Sam's definitely playing. And Jack's going back to New South Wales Cup to play. And they might even keep a Mitch Woods to be 19th man or something like that, to give him that experience, running out on the field, the team, and doing all the stuff and preparing like he's going to play first grade. They might do that with him. Lots of different options they've got, and that's a great thing, because you look at all these different scenarios and they all can make sense. Like even putting Montoya to centre and moving Taft to fullback and Tracy to centre and all these sorts of different things. If it had to be done during a game, you could make that work, because they've all got that versatility. And that's what this club's building. That's what Gus's vision is, to have a team ready for all seasons. He's like Origins. When you only got 3 games, you got to plan. You got to have that safeguard. If you just go out there and pick your best 17, but hope that nothing goes wrong, your best 17 in each position, and then something goes wrong and you can't cover it properly, well, you're probably going to lose, because the other team's going to know where your weakness is and they're going to hit it every day of the week. Whereas that's why, and that's why you see Billy Slater carrying, different players and stuff on the bench. He carried Cobbo, and Reece Walsh got knocked out, and they won the first game, and they had a ready replacement. So it's you can see Billy's learned a lot off Gus. He obviously would have learned a lot off Bellamy as well. Laurie's a certain type of coach. We know that with Laurie, and we'll see how he goes. Being a junior boy and watching him in a grand final when he was 16, when I was only 9 or 10, that was good. I was like, I hope he goes and plays for the Bulldogs. Laurie plays in the centres outside Terry Lamb, but he went to the Canberra Raiders. So Jamal, I reckon that he chucks Taff out back, Tracy and Wilson on wings, and Jerry Montoya centres. Maybe need a big boy to defend against Farnsey, even Luke Smith, maybe, who knows. Yeah, well, boss, I don't think they're going to do that, brother. They might and they could. It could work. But you will find it'll be Luke Smith or Jonathan Sewer. At the very worst, it could be Drew Hutchison goes to the left, Cherry moves to the right. They're going to keep that combination, bro. They're going to keep the combination of the left edge the way it is. Why it's working. It's been doing its job. We're 9-1 with Montoya, Burton, Kickow, and Bronson Cherry on that left edge. That's our left edge. They don't want to break that left edge up if they don't need to, because it weakens us defensively and it weakens our ability to attack. What they will do is try and get as much like for like on that right edge, and players that have been playing right centre up for Canterbury in lower grades and in trials are Jonathan Sewer and Luke Smith. So they're your 2 players that could play in that position. Harry Hayes could play right centre. So could Luke Smith. Obviously, they've all played centre. But Harry Hayes is going to stick on the right edge. And I think if Luke stays in the team, he will either be the centre, or if Sewer comes in, Luke will replace Harry out there at some point and give Harry a break. And potentially Harry can come on and have another and play through the middle at some point. But I think the intention would be that Harry Hayes gets to play a full game on that right edge and kick out a full game on the left. They're purring along nicely. They're getting through their work. And, the fact that we're got no possession in the first half in the last two matches, played so many games in a short period of time, spent 3 weeks on the road with all the suspensions, all the injuries. Now players going to Origin as well as more injuries. And they're still running home faster than teams that have had greater possession than them. That's what I couldn't understand with even the Broncos comeback. Like, we had 2 players in the bin for 20 minutes of that first half, and we come out in the second half like we had all the energy. You know, our sets were making meters every set. It was just a bit beyond us, and we were a little bit too fatigued to pull back a perfect score in 34-0. But we won that second half. I walked out of there feeling like our season's still well on track. Come out the next week against the Titans. Didn't play that well, but beat them pretty easily. And we've all seen what's happened since. Smashed the Rabbits and so on. So, yeah, just the fact this side runs out with energy when it's got no right to makes me very, very happy and proud of the club for what it's been able to achieve. G'day, Gratitude. Wilson will be on right wing. Look, if Taff plays centre, you know, I probably should give up podcasting. I really should. I can't see it. Look, on a Tuesday when they name a team, they say, short turnaround. We just name the players to replace the players to come out. So Taff's come into the squad, right? So he replaces Critter. Wilson replaces Carraz. And then they move the pieces around later. I think Taff will come and be like a number 17, where he's been playing when he has played. And I think Turpin may start. Bailey stays where he is. Moran off the bench as usual. And either, Hopwoy or Curran or Underhill will be the other bench player. That's how I think it will roll. And I think either Luke Smith or Jonathan Sewer will be the centres. So I can see Luke Smith potentially may sit this game out if that's the case as well. If Hughes plays and they bring Sewer in, or they just they bring Smith to centre, Taff to the bench, leave everything else as is. That would work. That would be fine. But Hughes, I think, would start if he does play. I think he'll replace Hopwoy. Because Hopwoy can, play that Satilli role. He can play that Curran role, play that Harry Hayes role off the bench. And Moran's playing, 25 to 30 minutes. So it's working out well, the way they're doing it and the way they've got it going. And that's what I think will happen. Thank you very much, Michael. Oh, mate, Mark said I don't look a day over 61. Don't break the fence. I love it. Let's get all the support we can out to a call this week, fellow doggies. Exactly 48 hours to kick off. That's what I want to see, brother. Keep it going, mate. Get that community firing up. I reckon Tafford centre lining up against Farnworth is smart by 0 speed, matches speed. Do you say this stuff just so I'll argue with you, Mark? Look, I know where you're getting at there, because we saw Taff make some really good tackles in that trial. Very impressive, and he's obviously worked on his defence a lot. How often has he played centre? So when they run Fini Fuiaki or Lemuelo out there, and you got lines coming from Farnworth and that, how's Taff going to go? I don't think he's going to go that well. If he does, that's fine. Like, I hope he does. And if he's there, I'll be like, well, they must be confident. And that'll give me confidence. But from what I'm seeing, I'm happy to see someone who's actually developing as a centre in Jonathan Sewer, who is also very fast. I'd say he's as fast as Blake Taff, especially over long distance. who can step off both feet and do amazing stuff in the air, can finish, can do it all. I'd rather him be out there, and if he concedes some tries and learn some lessons, that doesn't worry me at all. I'm like, that's what's got to happen. You know, that right edge has been learning lessons all season, and not just lessons for themselves, but lessons for the whole club. So maybe Taff can take that on, but I think it's players who've been doing it real time. Are you Luke Smiths? They are you Jonathan Sewers. Unless they've been training Taff at right centre or left or wherever throughout the season, I haven't seen it. I've seen him playing fullback. Seen him come on off the bench a couple of times and sort of play through the middle, but not defending at centre. Not to say he can't do it, but I think there's better options there. And I think for the future, I don't see Taff being in the team. I don't see anyone who's unsigned at this point being in the team next year, except for maybe one player. And who that is, I'm not sure. But they'll provide us value while they're here. They're all Bulldogs. None of them want to go. Maybe they get to earn themselves another year, some of them. Maybe they, but for what I think we're going to see is more progression from 4 or 5 juniors into that top 30 next year in readiness for a continued bloody assault at premierships. And the reason I talk about that as well is because when you've got the Perth Bears coming in and there's going to be a PNG team and another team coming not long after that, these youngsters, you have to get them progressing now. You have to get them going through your systems. You have to pay them now. You have to sign them up. You have to keep extending them ahead of the game and giving them the opportunity within your club. And then you've got to decide the ones you want to keep. The players which have sort of been there and done that, they're not the future. So they're not a big, priority for the club. Clubs like Canterbury are going and signing, Fayunu Latu or Finau. Sorry, I always get his names mixed up. They're going to clubs and getting these young players before the expansion clubs do. Well, some clubs are worried about, and some coaches are worried about keeping their jobs and are going and getting any experience wherever they can find it to win tomorrow. No chance Tracy moves to wing. He's solid for us in fullback. They'll put in Smith at centre. Taff probably 18th man with Underhill coming in. Yeah, look, I don't think Underhill comes in unless Hughes, although I would have both. I agree. I'd actually bring Sewer in and I'd bring Underhill in. And that's even if Hughes plays. And I'd probably have young Smitty and Taff out of the side. But I'm pretty sure Taff's going to stay in the 17. And I'm pretty sure that Underhill will only come in if Hughes does not prove himself tomorrow. That's what I believe. Joe, just join up. Everyone's having a good night. I hope we win going into the bye and then after a well-deserved rest, we smack the Eels after a well-deserved rest. Yeah. I'm getting nervous now. Can't wait. And we've got Origin next week as well. So we get the bye and we get to watch Origin. So at least we got something we can get interested in. And look, I know many people are divided on Origin players and that and how it weakens squads, but you got to remember, Origin pays for the game of the rugby league. It helps generate money that they use to pay players with. It also, when they make it, they get paid well. It strengthens the confidence of your team. Whilst it's the number one thing in our game, it's imperative. And it's also, that chance to debut these youngsters and give them an opportunity or players which you've brought to your club, like your Jake Turpins and your Blake Taffs, to actually, get that reward of playing first grade and know that they've got to do a really good job. and that anything can happen in Origin. Critter and that could get injured for the rest of the year, which is a risk that you just got to wear. And all of a sudden, they're it. And Blake Taft's been in that situation before. He was the fullback in the grand final for South in a game they only just lost. They nearly beat the Panthers that day. He played well. Took one of the best catches you've seen too, under the posts. Like, this is how it all works, and this is why it's so important. And for good clubs to see them players get that reward and then have a player come in and take their place, it's nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. It can be high pressure as well. But what we're seeing from the Bulldogs players, Lipboy Hotboy still hasn't really made an error since he's come into the NRL. I don't think he's dropped the ball once. Don't want to put the mocker on him. But remember, the young fellas that Trent Barrett was debuting, they're coming in and just having shockers from the pressure. So the mentality of these guys as well, like Luke Vella, whose whole purpose is to transition these youngsters, many who he's coached from juniors into NRL. It's obviously fucking working. The proof's in the pudding. Look, even Gideon Katonga, who had that really poor moment against the Storm in that game we lost at the end of the game. He's now playing first grade for the Eels on the edge and doing quite well and getting better every week and becoming an attacking threat, but his defence has been much better than it was. So getting that opportunity with us has strengthened the NRL, and that's all part of that. I expect to see Joe Ash go out there and do a great job for the Eels in whatever capacity he's required. I'm sure there'll be nerves, but he's ready. All right. And if he was at Canterbury this year, he'd probably be ready. He'd be ready. These kids are ready. You know? And I'll admit, I had doubts last year. I'm like stressing, going, Harry Hayes, Bailey Haywood. Why don't we? They've brought Harry Hayes in. Why don't they bring Liam Knight in? We need an extra big boy. Like, I'm sitting there going, trying to understand it all, but being really respectful, going, hey, what are they doing? But it's all clicked. When you go back and you watch the games, you look at everything, you can see it clear as day. And from last year to this year, the progression is just off the charts. How good is it? Unless Hughes isn't fit, Smith centre, Taft to bench and Underhill in. That's very much likely to be the play, Sayed. Very much likely. I think that's how it'll work out. G'day, Reg. Glad to see Serrato not listening to couch coaches wanting Birdo in the centres. Aren't we happy? You know, the dog father used to tell Serrato how to do things, and Serrato used to listen most of the time. Back in the day when the dog father was coming on here. G'day, James, and thanks for being a member. Much appreciated. And guys, like and subscribe. I shouldn't say it. Shouldn't apologise for it, but it really helps. Adam Dewey, Jacob Preston brought in the Blues camp. Might be the work experience kid with an eye on playing game 2 with Adam Dewey, which is a bit weird. No, I think it's great. I think that's a real good initiative by the camp, the New South Wales camp, to get players which have been showing. Look, there's no doubt you've got Scott Woodward has been helping Madge Maguire pick the New South Wales squad. Scott Woodward is the reason we have Jacob Preston. He uses a rating system based on all this data. He feeds it in, and he is actually out there as part of his role looking for all the new technology, and he's got his head wrapped around artificial intelligence as well. And look, this guy's so far ahead. He knows that there's technology they could use right now, which would give you 98.9% accuracy on any forward pass, just from AI looking at it, looking at what a forward pass is, looking from every camera angle and what a forward pass isn't, and then learning, having all the information in it, and then being able to see it live and have a response within 2 seconds, whether it was forward or not. That's the sort of shit this guy's looking at. But as far as picking players and picking these guys, what he's looking at is their aerobic capacity to do work, to do it at a fast pace, to do it with force, to do it over and over and over again, to get up, get back, get in, get out, to run support, run decoys, run lines, and then you've got all the other stuff on top of it. How they're able to wrestle, how often they win that wrestling fucking contact. He's looking at all that shit. So much of it. He's not looking at how many tackles Tyrell May made. He's looking at how many first contacts Tyrell made, and how he restricted post contact, or how he was able to turn the player over. He's looking at all this shit, right? And players like Jacob Preston, we know what he represents. He represents someone. So when when Laurie Daly gets asked why he's picked, he goes, well, I'll take you to this thing here. I don't think it was Laurie Daly who saw Max King get back after Tony Francis made that break. I reckon Scott Woodward would have pointed him to it. I might be wrong, but it would not surprise me. This is why you need Max King over this player. And Billy Slater's not stupid. He goes, I'll go back to this game here. David Fafita's done wonderful in stats. Like I think it was last year or the year before, he was playing really well leading into Origin. And Billy goes, no, there was these 3 plays here where he walked and he gave up. He didn't chase. He didn't do anything. I don't want him in Queensland until he knows that to earn that jersey, he's got to chase everything, every time. He's got to make sure his teammates know that he's never going to give up on them. And when he proves that to them, he can come prove it to the Queenslanders again. That's the sort of shit that they're looking for. And as far as I'm concerned, Jacob Preston represents that every time, every single moment he's been on the field since he started. He's been at that level and just got better and better. So I look at a player like Adam Dewey and I see that as well. Now, he's been cruel by so many injuries. The fact that he's can kick a footy, he's very versatile. He's actually not a bad utility to have. He can play centre, wing, fullback, 5'8", halfback, and you can put him on an edge. You can play him at lock, and he's not small. He's basically a Matt Burton in sort of structure, quite tall, muscly, strong, runs hard, tackles hard, and very, very skilled. So it does not surprise me that he's a player they bring in as well. I know he's only on $300,000, but he was on $750,000 and spent 2 years at that club with ACL injuries, 2 years on the sidelines within 3.5 seasons. So he took a pay cut to pay him back. If he gets through a season without injury, he could command upwards 500, 600, $700,000 a season easily. He's a good footballer. The biggest elephant in the room for me is once all our forwards are back from suspensions, what happens to Hayes? Well, I really like that you asked that, mate, and that's something that I might look at. What's our best 17 going to be once we get all our players back? And that is the question. Obviously, Jamin Salmon's out for 10 weeks. Does he come straight back into a side when he's fully fit? He may not be able to. If we're doing really, really well and continue to do really, really, really well, someone might outplay. I think Bailey Hayward's in our best 17. He's cemented himself, which if you asked me that at the start of the season, I would have thought he was struggling. I'm like, best 19, yes. And I think the way it is that our best 19 includes Bailey Hayward, Harry Hayes, Jamin Salmon. I think Samuel Hughes evolves into that side. Satili Tupanua, Curran. Obviously, you've sort of done the numbers. But there's also this other thing too. It's when you got a long season and these players that have come in and are doing the job, there's a high chance that there's going to be a suspension. There's going to be an injury to one of these guys, right? Harry's going to, hurt himself at some point. Bailey's going to, get caught up in a tackle. You don't want to see it, and you touch on wood that they get constant good luck. And some players just have unbelievable luck. But yeah, there's always going to be someone go down, and and that's just going to open the door for someone else to keep doing what they got to do. What we want to hope though is come semi-finals and hopefully beyond, we've got the majority of that core in place, but it's also going to be great to know that we've got this whole bunch of players that collectively played, 5, 10 games each, supporting this club, supporting this team, while the other players have been injured, suspended, and on rep duties. You think Taff's fine? Timmy says, I was too exhausted to go last week, but definitely going to be at the game this Thursday evening. Awesome, Timmy. Joe, you're right. Taff is only just named there. It will change. Either he switches with Tracy or goes to the bench, and I think going to the bench is a better option. I can't see him moving Connor Tracy out of the fullback role. I can't see the spine changing at all. To sort of, I just can't see it. Can't see the spine changing. Marnie hooker, Burton 5'8", Toby at 7, Tracy at 1. Taff gets his go. It's as a backup, or to come on late and run some havoc through the middle if need be. Or if someone's playing poor and they get hooked, he can come in and they can reshuffle on the go. But defensively, it's suicide to keep changing your side around. Look, Serrato is quite happy to, as we've seen, put players into. There was games where back 2 years ago, where we lost a winger and stuff. We lost Carraz and early in a match. We lost the Fox early in a match. And he pushed Alamotti out to the wing and then put Salmon into the centres. And we got, really struggled to having these forwards in the centres. And I was like, well, they could just push Burton out to the left and bring Salmon into 5'8", for example. No, didn't do it. And I think we would have defended better, and I think it would have been given us more of a chance to win that match. But the way Serrato is trying to build things and cover all seasons and play his game plan, he's happy to lose a game and have lessons learnt. If it's a game, though, where everything's going well and he makes a change and you can see it's not working, I think this year's a little bit different, They're there. They're playing at a level that we're on top of the ladder. That's for obviously a good reason. So, we saw in that Titans match, he put Critter into 5'8" when Burton got injured because they were practicing and planning for that at some point. And, defensively, it just cruelled us too much. And the Titans were able to exploit it. He fixed it on the run and we went away with the match and got away with it. So, yeah, it's in that development phase, they're quite happy to take a few hits in order to learn some stuff. But now I think the there's a bit more on the line now. Like the betting says we're 4-1. So you go and put a bet on the Dogs, put $100 on it, you only get 400 if we win the comp. The start of the season, you put 100 on it, you would have got over $2,000. Actually, yeah, you're right. Sure. Sewer's probably the better option as well. Very much doubt Sarah will play Hayes, Sewer, and Wilson on the right edge. Be looking for some experience on that edge. As I said, Sewer and Wilson have been playing right edge in Cup together, mate, for weeks. And Hayes and Sexton were the other two that were there last week. So as far as combinations go, you've got combinations there, people in familiar roles. Taff, I don't think, is a better defensive option than Sewer, especially considering he hasn't been playing there. I think it's a risk. There's definitely some element of risk. And as I said, I'd rather cop the lessons for a kid who's developing in the role, who's likely to be in our top 30 next year or the year after. In a game, when we're on top of the ladder, 2 points clear, doing really, really well, a game that we shouldn't even be expected to win if you were fair income, looking at the sides. I know we've got full faith in our team, but if you're a punter and you're looking at what's missing from our side compared to their side, you take your goggles off. We should be the outsiders, really. No, Critter's gone, Carrazza's gone, Preston's gone, King's gone. Like, losing Max King is huge to our chances. But how exciting is it for the opportunity for them guys to go out there? So I'm happy for those guys to learn some lessons and back them to do it. It's going to happen. It has to happen. And if it doesn't, that's even better, But yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that sentiment, Mark. Some experience on that edge. Well, he could bring Curran back to the right edge, but why change a combination? I felt Sexton and Harry Hayes did a really good job on the right edge in defence. How many tries did they score down our left edge? Down their left edge. Don't think they scored any. So we had Critter and Carraz, obviously, Hayes and Toby. They did a great job. Obviously, losing Critter and Carraz is a very big deal. I get it. Have you keep your undefeated home record this year? Yes, mate. I'd love nothing more. Like to go in and be on 24 points leading into that King's birthday match. One defeat, huge crowd, arch rivals who are primed and are going to be looking for the Bulldogs. That's going to be the ultimate test. That day we get Jacob Preston back, who will obviously be a little bit underdone, but fresh. That day we get, I think Satilli comes the week after. So Preston's missed, what games has he missed? The Raiders game, the Roosters game, the Dolphins game. Oh, fuck, he's going to miss the Eels game. We don't get Preston back. And Satilli misses the next game as well because he misses 5. That's shit. Well, we'll get somebody back. We'll have Critter back. Probably won't have Carraz, so we've got Wilson there. Wilson will be in the side every week. If he gets injured, Sewer probably comes in for him. Regardless. Old fella Dave, click the like button. It helps put this stream up in other people's feeds. Fuck yeah. Scotty Warren, g'day, mate. Harry won't get hurt. He's a machine. He'll be there all year. He's a mainstay and he's a workhorse. Scotty's the Harry Hayes fan, man. He loves him. We have little chats. You remembered when he said Harry should start? And I said he's not a starter yet. He's talking about in the middle. Starting on an edge is different, Scotty. He's a workhorse and he's going to go out there and tackle his ass off, make a few hit-ups when need be. That might be something we see from Harry too on an edge this week, is a little bit of football where he might get some, not just some inside balls turned around. Probably get a lot of that because of the weather. But they may, have him running through a couple of holes. I reckon Toby might look for Harry because he can run a hole, Harry Hayes. Been doing it his whole career, running holes. And he can offload as well. We don't see that from Harry, but he can. He can do it all. I think I might like Harry more than you, Scotty. Love the podcast, says Sammy. Up the doggies. Thank you so much, mate. Crucial we don't pick up any more suspensions or injuries. Yeah, well, it's getting pretty dire, isn't it? So what have we got here? So, yeah, I look, if I was going to back changes in this match, I think Hughes is going to pass the fitness test. I think he's going to start. I think Hippoy is going to come down to the bench. I think Lukey Smith is going to swap with Taff in the centre position, and that'll be your team. That's what I think will happen. If Hughes isn't fit, he drops out. Underhill comes to that bench spot. Hippoy and Curran start, and Luke Smith goes to centre. Or the other option that I believe, the third option will be that Blake Taff goes to the bench, Luke Smith drops out, and Jonathan Sewer moves into that right centre position. But I think that's now looking like it might be the third option. Looking at Serrato and what he's done, I think the change will just simply be Smitty for Taff and Hughes to start if he is cleared fit to play. Because he's not really well, maybe they'll play him off the bench for 20 minutes. Maybe bring him on after Curran has a break for 30, after 30 minutes potentially. But I just think it opens us up. If Curran gets injured, just opens us up to a tougher assignment. Whereas I think, if Sam starts, those players have got the ability to play longer minutes. There's less impact after 20 minutes. And also, actually, and the other thing I think that'll change, I've got this feeling Hayward will start on the bench and Turpin will start at lock. I could be wrong. Could be a lot of changes. You can see all the changes there. Serrato might have other things in mind. And whatever he goes with, we're going to love it. Michael says, I think our best squad this year was against the Bunnies or even the Broncos. Yeah, I wasn't too unhappy with our squad against the Bronx. And look, in that second half, we played like a team that was 10 points better than them. It was basically going to be 18-2 that second half had they not scored after the bell. So, yeah, I think that was a good side. Good sides can be down 34-0. Look, we've got so much improvement in this, guys. Long way to go. We're only at round 11. We're not even halfway through the season. Keep that in mind. So much to develop, so much to happen. But guys, let's have a quick look at the New South Wales Origin side. He's happy with that. I did talk about it a little bit. I think Max King coming off the bench or starting doesn't really matter. And I think he can play more than 20 minutes in a State of Origin match. I really do. I think he can contribute a lot. And I think he will. But we'll see what Daly's got in store. Let's go New South Wales. Well, before I do that, let's look at our New South Wales Cup side. Tane Tuapiki for the Warriors, Morgan Harpin, Ali Latautia, Edward Cosi. They've got a very good side. Tanner Boyd and Luke Hanson. Tom Ale, Freddie Lussick, Elis Fatialofa. and a lot of youngsters coming through the system. Our side, Tay Cochrane, Jonathan Sewer, Danny Gabrielle, Cassius Tia, Cooper Toy, Drew Hutchison. Now, Joey O'Neill, I think he's not officially named there, but I think he will come into the side. But apparently he's up and about. He's walking. You know, he got hit in the head a couple of weeks ago. Jack Underhill named with Zion, Logan Spinks, Lewis Grossamy, and Taniela Odokolo have been very impressed with it. I keep saying AJ Jones or AK Jones. Femi Toilalo now. His hair don't look like that anymore, I don't think. I'm pretty sure he got his head shaved, but he played really well in the Flegg grand final last year and was at the lock forward position, and he's one that I think is very talented. What I saw in he played a bit of Ron Massey, and he's going out there and putting on the big hits. It looks like he's beefed up a fair bit. I think he's been injured, but he's just coming back in. I think they've got a lot of a high opinion of him. And Larry Muagatutia, who's been doing a good job, whilst a lot of these New South Wales Cup forwards have had to transition into the NRL squad. But that's going to be a tough game for the boys, and they're playing that in Auckland. So they get to travel over there. So that's another thing as well. So that's on Sunday the 25th. So they'll probably travel over on Saturday or Sunday. May even get there Saturday night. Come home Sunday afternoon. But yeah, be interesting to see the side that they take over there. Very, very interesting. Players like Will Afawalo, Jed Reardon, Hamish Wilson, Chase Patterson, and Bud Smith all going back to Jersey Flegg and Ron Massey. And I think you'll find that Mitchell Woods has been named in our Flegg match, which is also on Sunday. So they go over and play. They're playing at Pukekohe. Forget how to say that. Geordie Mazzoni's made his way back from injury. Hamish Wilson. Joseph Taupa is very, very good. Mitchell Woods named. So there you go. Bud Smith, Jed Reardon back into the squad with Bailey Miles. Alex Conti off the bench has been good. Sasaya Latini, Chase Patterson, Oliver Smith. Oliver was playing SG ball. He's from Harold Matts. Very, very good player. And this side will be looking to perform. So there you go. Welcome, Mark. Bring back Blake Wilson. In my opinion, Montoya isn't the best. Oh, that's all right, Mark. We don't really criticise players here, but I'll tell you what we do though. We talk them up, and Blake Wilson will be playing on the right wing. He's not playing left wing. He's playing right wing. Montoya will stay on the left wing. Look, Montoya's a bit heavy-footed in the wet. I will say that. But he's done a lot of good things as well. You know, he saved a couple of tries last week. He had that issue, that one where he's throwing the ball out the back under a bit of pressure. And then Robert Toya went over, but he dropped the ball. And he did that, and then he couldn't hold on to Toya. So that wasn't good. He missed a few tackles last week as well. But overall, his season has been very, very solid. He's been a solid contributor. But look, I think in those conditions, sometimes it's a bit better to have someone a bit more fleet-footed, light-footed, a bit faster, can help with your attack. But for the most part, you have to say that Marcello's done a good job. He did a lot of tough runs on the weekend, under pressure runs where he wasn't making many meters and stuff. But when he gets to wind up, he crushes faces, I've seen at least 3 people reel out of tackles after collecting his hip this season. So I think he really goes well with Carraz as well. So him and Blake contributed pretty much equally as far as meters and carries and tackle breaks and all that sort of stuff. It just come down to the fact that Carrazza's playing right side. That's why Wilson's made way. Some would say you have Wilson come to the left and Carrazza on the right. I think that could work as well, but they've got what they're doing. It's been working, and unless players sort of contribute to them losing matches, that's the coach knows more about that. What fans see, against the Broncos, fans saw Montoya off his wing, but that's not Montoya's fault. That's how they play. That's how they defend. And there was twice when that happened when they were down to 12 men as well. So the spaces are different. And sometimes you basically got to challenge the half to kick across because you're that determined to stop them from scoring. And, look, I don't blame the last line of defence. And to be honest, the way our team works, it's made our jobs of our wingers in defence to be a lot easier most of the time because we've been able to restrict meters of oppositions, stop them from kicking where they want, taken a lot of puff out of the attack and slowed down their ruck enough that, when they get to our edges, Montoya and Carrazza are able to time their hits perfectly. Sometimes it's not even getting that far. There's, both centres have got it covered with the edge. It's more so if Preston and the big danger is if Harry and Toby don't move out fast enough and also make sure they don't get sucked in. And the worry is if they're doing that right, then the good thing about Critter is he's going to go the right man. But if you've got someone else new there, they may overcompensate for their winger or for their halfback. And when that starts to happen, you get into, breaks start happening or players get an overlap and that sort of thing. So it's such a team orientated thing. And the reason we've been doing it so well for the most part on both sides of the field is because it starts with those inside men working so hard to shorten the size of that edge and really force teams to be able to, do tap-ons and tip-ons and play that sort of, really good football to get around it. And we challenge them to do it. So that's how I see that. Scotty says, thanks for the shout out, bro. Love the channel. Like Harry more than you, but you're a top bloke. Blue and white pride, my brother. All right, I'll let you have that one there, Scotty. Smash the like, subscribe, Doggies fan, top content. I was going to talk about Origin, but look, it's not till next week. Proud of the guys. We'll do an Origin special closer to the time, I think. It is my birthday. I'm going to go and watch The Handmaid's Tale. I think the second last episode. Like that show. And I watch it with the missus. Might have a bourbon. And tomorrow's a new huge day of work. But thanks for joining, everyone. It's been good. Enjoyed having a chat. We'll get some, champions on here soon as well to have a chat. I'm sure Timmy would love to come back on. I'm sure Marky would like to come back on as well. We've got Brad. Brad watches it. We've got Jimmy. They often, Jimmy's a train driver, so he listens to the podcast while he's driving the train. People go to bed early that listen, but we'll get some people on here to say hello and share their knowledge as well. Oh, we've got to have Timmy's prediction. Close game in the wet, 1-12 Bulldogs. Bulldogs 22, Dolphins 12. And he never tips against us. What an absolute champion. Oh, fella Dave, great chat as usual, lads. Catch the next one. Well, that's it, people. Thanks for joining. Thanks for taking part. And it's been a wonderful night. And let's go Bulldogs. Let's beat the Dolphins. Let's keep this going. For all those fans who go out there, bloody awesome. And Michael says this side's going to go out and put 50 on the Dolphins and not concede a point. I bloody love it. Thank you, Michael. See you all soon. Go the Dogs.